Rafael Brandao wins the 2024 Arnold South America. He punches his ticket to the 2024 Olympia. Let's break it down.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Sadiq Faruqi with an RX Muscle News update as the 2024 Arnold South America letting out, and Rafael Brandao winning the show and punching his ticket to the 2024 Olympia. A hotly contested affair down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and not to much surprise that Rafael Brandao came out on top, but it wasn't without a lot of debate and discussion, especially when you look at who finished in second and third. This was a very stacked lineup, or at least it was coming into it a couple of weeks ago. Carlos Thomas Jr. having to drop out due to personal reasons, had a death in the family. We send our thoughts and prayers out to him. You look at John De La Rosa in the lineup as well. And then there was the much ballyhooed debut of GoodVito, Vitalii Ugolnikov, the Russian who resides now in Brazil. And he did not disappoint. Tonio Burton, the 2023 New York Pro Champion, finishing in second place. GoodVito finishing in third place. This was a really, it's amazing because when you think about ever since the point system was eradicated from the IFBB Pro League and now qualifying to the Olympia means you have to win a pro show, this has changed the game. This has changed everything. And it makes these shows, especially, one like the Arnold South America, that much more, it just raises the stakes that much more, right? Whereas it could have been in years past where, all right, fine, you didn't win the show. You came in second. It's a premier tier show. So good. You got your points. You move on to the next show. Get some points there. Put yourself in position for an Olympia berth. But that's not the case anymore. Now you have to go in and you have to win this kind of a show. And I'm just going to run past the top five. So, again, Brandao coming in first. Tonio Burton coming in second. GoodVito in his pro debut in third place. William Martins, another name that's been, on the scene, especially as far as Brazilian bodybuilders are concerned, coming in fourth. And Carlos Andre finishing in fifth place. But, again, going back to the conversation about spots, hotly contested spots for the Olympia, ever since they got rid of the point system, this is, what we talked about. Well, somebody's going to get squeezed out because no longer is it, all right, let's just say, take Tonio Burton. Tonio Burton, in the previous system would have collected a good number of points from this show. He then would have gone on, say, to the New York Pro, which is in 6 weeks. And look, whether he wins or not, he comes away with a couple of more points. Puts himself in prime position, probably at that point, to grab a what's it called? Not an auto berth, but a point berth to the Olympia. But again, that is out the window now. Tonio Burton needs to win a show in order to qualify for the Olympia. GoodVito, highly impressive, but it's a third place finish. If he has any aspirations of competing in the 2024 Olympia, he now needs to win a show in order to secure a berth at the 2024 Olympia. But Rafael Brandao getting it done. And really, when you think about the conversation about Rafael Brandao, we saw him just a few weeks ago in Columbus, Ohio at the 2024 Arnold Classic. And that after a year-plus layoff. The last time we saw him was at the 2022 Olympia. And we had the conversation with him about, sort of the reputation that he has garnered as being sort of a throwback, as being a quote-unquote classic bodybuilder, when you talk about the classic proportions, the shape, the frame that he has, and what the plan was between the 2022 Olympia and coming into this season, what was he willing to do in terms of upgrading his look? And when you talk about adding mass, with him, it's always been the question of adding the balance, adding the symmetry that he already presents, and being able to balance that out with the added size. Now, he told us in Columbus that he added approximately 12 to 14 pounds over the course of the last, say, 16 to 18 months. So, again, the question was, how is that going to look on that frame? And we saw him, again, just a few weeks ago, and immediately one of the first things that stood out is that still he maintained that trademark level of conditioning, and more importantly, that trademark level of flow that he brings. But now he had that added mass. Now he had that extra size. Now he had an additional toolkit to stand in amongst some of the biggest and some of the better, more seasoned professionals, at the elite level of bodybuilding. Because that's, I think, when you consider Rafael Brandao, you want to see what he was going to be able to do to now be able to compete with the best of the best. Because, again, the aspirations are different now. He was a nice story a few years ago. All right, the guy that, out of Brazil, great frame, great look, good on-stage presentation. But now you needed to see, some of that added firepower for him to be able to compete against some of the better competitors, in pro bodybuilding. And I think you're seeing that now. I think that's the most impressive thing. Look, the debate, and when it comes to the Brazilian fans in general, they're very passionate about bodybuilding. Now, in the top three, not to say GoodVito is Brazilian, but I guess he's an adopted Brazilian if you want to look at it that way. You had a lot of debate, but you had those amongst the Brazilian fan. I mean, just look at the comment section in the live stream for the Arnold Classic, for the Arnold South America. You had many advocating for Tonio Burton, but let's talk about Rafael Brandao, because I think what he presented today is a package that harkens back to a conversation that you had about, a lot of the newcomers to the scene, right? That the tools are there. The frame is there. Sometimes it's a matter of maturity. Sometimes it's a matter of, again, putting on that size and being able to keep your proportions, being able to keep your shape, being able to keep what it is that impressed the judges, impressed the fans, got you that pro card, got you into the conversation for some of the better bodybuilders, out there on the pro scene. But now with that added firepower, you saw what he brought today. Now, again, he still is up there, has that flow, but he's more of a polished figure now. He seems a little bit more of and I don't want to say finished product, because I think, even he would admit there is still room for improvement in terms of just, that's next level of polish, right? That next level of conditioning, that next level of graininess. And again, that comes with time. But I think when you look at where he is now, and then you compare that to, say, GoodVito, you compare that to, say, Tonio Burton, and you say that this is where they want to be in the matter of the next, say, 16 to 18 to 24 months, right? That next level of polish, that next level of, all right, what is it that I bring that stands out to the stage, and how am I able to now, add the tools that, is going to take me to another level. And I think that's what you saw out of Rafael Brandao today. Now, granted, look, he is competing against in front of his hometown fans. There was another level of sort of an emotional investment you saw up there, and that's cool, right? Like, I don't want to discount that. Now, as far as just pure judging, pure physique, again, take that and throw it out the window, but it is cool to see. You saw him embrace the moment. You saw how, in finals, after, his individual presentation, there was a moment where he stood there and you could tell that the moment was big. The moment, in a sense, got to him, right? Because you could see the pure emotion on his face. And I think that's cool. That's good for bodybuilding, right? We talk about the Brazilian fans. We talk about Brazilian bodybuilding. We talk about how passionate, they all are when it comes to this sport. And, we sitting here in the United States, it's not like that in this country. It's just not, right? If, you want to meet other passionate fans of bodybuilding, guess where you have to go? You have to go to a certain section of YouTube. You had to go to a certain section of Instagram. Whereas say Brazil and, even say, Iran, Middle East, right? It's a lot more prevalent. I don't want to say it's a mainstream because I don't want to misspeak, but it is a lot more prevalent there, and the fans are a lot more, passionate, and they're much more, how do I put it? You can't get anything past them, right? They will call you out right away. If they see someone's off, they will call them out right away. They see through the BS, right? So look, you had a healthy debate as to whether or not Rafael Brandao truly was the best on that stage, and that's good. That's fine. It's an opinionated sport. That's what makes this great. And it was so cool about today's show is that you had 3 quality competitors at the top, right? Tonio Burton, you look at, and again, the comparisons have been made since last year, and it's, it's the kind of thing where, you think you see something, and then you're kind of waiting for somebody else to say it, almost as some, double level of validation, I guess. And I kind of said this when I saw him at the New York Pro. I saw Tonio Burton at the New York Pro. I was sitting, in the media section, so we were very close to the stage. And I'm like, this guy looks like a very, very, very young Dexter Jackson, right? If you look at Dexter Jackson in his earlier years, to me, that's just what Tonio Burton resembles. He has beautiful shape, beautiful flow, but I think what he's added even more now, in comparison to last year, he's got a little bit more of those showy body parts, as Chris Aceto likes to say. A little bit more of those bells and whistles. You see a little bit more flair, on the shoulders. You see a little bit more of a frame, really, quite frankly. Again, we use the term firepower. I think he has a little bit more firepower now. He has some more. I think he's getting to the place now where he is about to start developing knockout shots, right? And I think that's kind of a conversation that you reserve for the elite of bodybuilding, right? Some that have that kind of equipment where they have the knockout shots. And I think Tonio Burton is certainly heading in that category. I think he is on that path where, you're talking about, guess the tier of pounds that he needs to now put onto that frame. And I think he's going to be very dangerous because he has, that God gift of that frame. He has the structure. And again, there's that level of conditioning. I think that's sort of become the other underlying common denominator, conditioning, because, at the top now of bodybuilding, that is a very, very strict standard that I feel like has been set. Even Arnold said this at that Sunday seminar a few weeks ago after the Arnold Classic, that he's so impressed with the level of conditioning, level of endurance that today's bodybuilders bring. That look that they bring, that ability to now hold poses on stage, whereas a few years ago, again, he expressed clear disappointment in bodybuilders' inability to do that. But I think that's been a bit more of an emphasis now. And I think Tonio Burton certainly fits that look. Very impressive today. Again, you see the debate in the comment section. You see the debate all across social media. There were many that were huge advocates of Tonio Burton on this day, but it just wasn't meant to be. Rafael Brandao, the winner. Tonio Burton's going to have to go to another show in order to qualify for the Olympia. I believe his next stop is the New York Pro, where he's going to be trying to defend his title against the likes of Nick Walker. There are a few others that I'm not sure if they publicly declared that they're going to be at the show, so I am not at liberty to say, but let's just say the New York Pro is going to be absolutely stacked, and obviously Tonio Burton is going to be going there looking to defend his 2023 title. And that brings us to GoodVito, Vitalii Ugolnikov. And, this has been a debut that has been a little bit overdue. For him, it's been a series of bad luck, visa issues, and then, of course, suffering an injury last year in July during a guest posing. And so it's been a series of setbacks. So we've had to wait till this weekend to finally get our first look at GoodVito, on a pro stage. Now, granted, we've seen plenty of him on Instagram, especially over the course of the last week and a half or so, really loading up his feed, with progress pictures. And, look, he certainly impressed today. You could very well make the argument. It's tough to say, oh, well, you can make the argument he's going to be in second place or whatever. But, Rafael Brandao was great. And I think he was I don't want to say clear winner. He was the winner. And I think Tonio Burton was a very good second place finish. Again, I think this was a two-man show with GoodVito right there. What he showed you today is great balance. Great balance. Yes, conditioning. I mean, stop me if you heard that before. It's almost like, when you're talking about the NBA draft, when somebody starts talking about wingspan, conditioning. Certainly, GoodVito checks that box, with an exclamation mark. But I think what he brought, which is so impressive, is a level of detail, especially in the legs. His legs for a debutant at the pro level, absolutely diced. Absolutely diced. The first pictures that we saw, I believe, were from Chris Aceto. Could have been somebody else. I'm just going to say Chris Aceto because he was sitting there. Chris Aceto's cell phone. But, you could tell, obviously, the level of just graininess that he already has in his legs. I mean, we talk about, bodybuilders and muscle maturity and taking years to add that level of graininess, that level of details. He certainly has that already in many different departments. So very, very impressive. It's the kind of thing where, again, I wouldn't be able to tell you right now what he needs to add because he kind of has a good framework already, right? You could say, well, okay, add some more size, but where? He's got the proportions, he's got the balance, and he certainly has the graininess. I just think, this is just a general case of this is someone that just continues to do what he does. Add some more size without losing the lines, without losing the proportions, without losing that graininess. And, this is someone who's probably, within 6 to 12 months of being a really, really dangerous competitor at amongst these, elite competitors. Because, again, look, there is the tier right now of a Rafael Brandao and a Tonio Burton. Because if you, I guess, project forward, say, to the Olympia, right, where do you project Rafael Brandao, you figure he's someone that's going to be fighting for, top 5, top 6 at this Olympia. I think he's that good, and I think he's, in that tier. Right there, and there's that tier right above where, you're talking about the Hotties, the Derricks, the Nicks, the Brandon Currys, the Andrew Jacks or whatever. And I think that tier right now might be a little above, the likes of a GoodVito. But I think this is someone that, again, along this line of progression, he could be right in that conversation within the span of 12 to 24 months. I think he's that good. I think he showed, really, when you think about impressive debuts at the IFBB pro scene, this is right up there. In terms of first time on a pro stage and really showing something amongst elite IFBB competition. So he's here, and I think he's going to be here to stay for quite some time. I think he's going to be a very dangerous competitor in very, very short order. He's going to be vying for an Olympia berth very, very near in the future. So impressive show. Let us know what you think. Did you think Rafael Brandao was the clear winner on this day? Do you think Tonio Burton should have fared better? Do you think GoodVito was a clear number 3, or could you make an argument that in his pro debut he may have fared better? Impressive show, and really, when you think about the grand scheme of things, as far as the IFBB Pro schedule is concerned, and as far as the conversation that's certainly going to take place now, as far as who is going to get squeezed out and who is going to be sweating it out for a last-minute invitation, or rather a qualification to the Olympia. This is going to get juicy, and it's going to get juicy in a hurry. Let us know what you think below. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. As always, we appreciate all of your support. Sadiq Faruqi with an RX Muscle News Update.